They said she was just a shy waitress with quiet eyes and soft footsteps. The kind of girl who blended into the background, invisible to the noise of the world. But on one unforgettable evening, in a luxury restaurant filled with power, fear, and whispered names, she opened her mouth and spoke 6 simple words in an ancient Sicilian dialect. The room fell silent, glasses stopped midair, men who feared nothing suddenly froze, because those words were not meant to be spoken by strangers, and certainly not by a girl no one noticed. But the moment she spoke, she wasn't invisible anymore. Her past walked back into the light, and so did danger. Maria worked at La Rosa del Mare, a quiet Italian restaurant tucked between glowing street lamps and cobblestone sidewalks in a city that never slept. She was 23, small in frame, with dark curly hair that she tied back every morning, and eyes the color of roasted chestnuts. She rarely spoke above a whisper. Customers came and went without remembering her name. And she preferred it that way. Silence was her safest place. Maria had come to the city alone 2 years ago, leaving behind a coastal village in Sicily where the sea smelled like salt and lemons. She did not speak about her family. Not because she did not love them, but because speaking of them meant speaking of what she lost back home. She had lived in a small stone house with white curtains that swayed in the sea breeze. Her father, Angelo, was a fisherman with hands worn from nets and tides. Her mother baked bread every Sunday morning. And there had been laughter. So much laughter, until the day everything changed. The sea took her father, and grief took her mother. Maria didn't run away. She simply started over. She crossed an ocean, learned to move quietly, and took a job washing dishes. Over time, she became a waitress, though she still moved as if apology followed her steps. That night, the restaurant buzzed with a different energy. The owner walked faster. The chef spoke in tension instead of rhythm. The lighting seemed sharper, the air heavier. Word had spread, he was coming. They did not speak his name. Most people didn't, but everyone knew Marco Santori, the son of a Sicilian Mafia patriarch. A man who controlled empires with whispers, and tonight, he was coming to dine with his father. Maria carried plates with steady hands, though her heart beat harder. She knew the name Santori from childhood stories. Stories told at dinner tables in low voices. Stories of men with loyalty carved into their bones and bloodlines guarded like kingdoms. When the door opened, the room did not gasp, but it felt as though it wanted to. Marco entered first. Tall. Sharp features. Eyes like polished steel. He carried a quiet authority, the type that did not require raised voices. Behind him walked his father, Don Salvatore Santori, older, slower, yet no less powerful. His presence filled the room like thunder rolling over still water. Customers lowered their gazes. The chef stepped forward to greet him. The owner bowed slightly. Maria simply watched, not out of awe, but memory. Salvatore Santori was a name spoken in her village too. Not as a villain, but as a protector. A man who once stopped a feud that could have destroyed families. A man respected more than feared, at least in her corner of Sicily. The men took their seats. Maria approached, her hands holding a wine bottle and 2 glasses. Her breath was careful. Her steps measured. She placed the glasses gently. And then, Don Salvatore looked up at her, not with suspicion. Not with arrogance. Just curiosity. Maria opened her mouth. And the words slipped out before her fear could stop them. Benedica la vostra casa e il vostro nome. May your home and your name be blessed. It was a Sicilian blessing, but not just any blessing. It was one spoken at funerals, weddings, and moments of deep respect. A blessing only elders taught their daughters. A blessing from the old world. The restaurant froze, even the air stopped moving. Marco's eyes narrowed. Salvatore's eyes widened, not with anger, but something else, recognition. He leaned closer, voice quiet and heavy with history. Child, where in Sicily are you from? Maria's heart clenched. She had not spoken her village name in 2 years. She looked directly into the Don's eyes and answered, Sciacca. The old man inhaled sharply, as if that name carried both salt and sorrow. He knew the place. He knew the people. He knew the sea that took her father, and suddenly, Maria was not invisible anymore. She was someone tied to a past he remembered, someone who belonged to a story greater than silence. The owner almost dropped a tray. Customers stared. Marco's expression shifted, the rigid silence in him loosened. He saw his father speak words reserved for blood, for clan, for legacy, and in that moment, Maria's life changed, not because she sought protection, not because she wanted power or favor, but because kindness given long ago had finally returned home. Days passed. Maria no longer moved like a ghost. She walked with presence. Marco visited the restaurant more often, not with arrogance, but with curiosity. He wanted to understand the girl who carried so much sorrow with grace. They spoke about Sicily, the sea, bread baked with olive oil, sunsets over white stone houses. She learned that Marco, for all his reputation, had grown up with loneliness too. Power built walls. And he had been living behind them his whole life, and slowly, without hurry, they became something to each other, not romance defined by dramatic declarations, but the kind that begins with understanding, the kind built on shared quiet, the kind that grows when two hearts recognize themselves in another. In time, Maria returned to Sicily, not to escape, but to heal. Marco and Don Salvatore went with her. They stood with her by the sea where her father had lived, laughed, loved, and died. The wind carried salt and memory, but this time, it did not feel like loss. It felt like belonging. Use this to close narration. Sometimes life hides us in silence, sometimes grief makes us disappear, but the soul remembers where it came from, and kindness, no matter how small, waits years, decades, lifetimes, until one day, when we least expect it, it returns.